listening to TC Talks on TNT.
What's going on, guys? It is TC here, back with another episode of TC Talks, and today we got a baseball segment here for you. We're going to be talking all about those Chicago White Sox who just got pulverized by the Houston Astros last night, a 21-5 beating. What does that mean for Chicago going forward into the series against the Cleveland Guardians? And then the Chicago Cubs, the complete opposite side of things right now, actually beat up the second place divisional opponent, the Milwaukee Brewers, earlier today of a score of 8-7. So they putting other teams in their place as opposed to getting beaten on. So honestly, good for the Cubs, who have been doing pretty hot in this month of August. But before we get into all of that, thank you for being here for another episode of TC Talks. We appreciate all the love and support you guys give us both here and on our Instagram at the Winner Circle STC. So go ahead and give us a quick follow there if you would. We also want to thank you for tuning into the Winner Circle, which is on sportsdownchicago.com, 5 p.m. on Wednesdays. And you guys showed some support. I saw a lot of people slid into the DMs, as I like to say, during the show and said they were coming over from YouTube. So honestly, thank you guys so much for showing us some love for what we've been doing out there. I really appreciate all that you guys do. So if you want, we will do another TC Talks takeover pretty soon. We will be doing that whenever Tyler Farringold is out of town. And I hope you guys enjoyed the surprise that I made for you, that having my brothers actually appear on the show and give their commentary. But my one brother, Joey, if you guys remember, he told me after the event, you got to make sure next time you just call me during baseball, because I was just Googling stuff the whole time and I didn't know anything about football. So I said, okay, absolutely, we can make that work. We will just bring you in as a baseball expert. We won't have you come in for the NFL in any case. But my other brother, Jake, also did a tremendous job as well. So shout out to them for being a part of that. It was really fun to do, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. But I also need your opinion. Do I put that in the TC Talk section, or do I put that down below in the Winner Circle section if I post it on YouTube? I really don't know, so let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But let's talk about those Chicago White Sox, who looked absolutely abysmal in that series finale against the Houston Astros. Now, when I first saw this score, I thought, oh, they bullied and beat up on some position player when the game was obviously a blowout. And I looked, and they did beat and bully a position player who decided to pitch when it was a blowout, but it wasn't the whole game. It wasn't the most damage. The most damage came from the three actual Chicago pitchers who went up against the Houston Astros. The first three pitchers for the White Sox were all normal pitchers. Those guys gave up a combined 17 runs. How you give up 17 runs is beyond me. That is terrible. The Chicago White Sox, they did pretty good. The position players, 5 runs overall, doing a pretty good job in the field, doing what they need to do. Great on them. The White Sox pitching staff, the starting rotation, the relievers, all of that jazz looked terrible. This wasn't even close. And it was only close in the beginning when it was 1-0 after 2. But then right after that, 3 more runs, 4 more runs. It just did not stop. It was probably the worst game I've ever seen in my life. It made me cry and die a little bit on the inside. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, call me Dr. Seuss, because that is how twisted up, that is how messed up I am over this whole scenario. And don't tell me Dr. Seuss wasn't messed up. I mean, just look at those characters. They are horrifying. But in either case, the White Sox performance in that last game was horrifying. It was terrible. Hopefully, the White Sox hitting is able to keep translating into this Guardians series because they did a great job. As we said in games 1 and 2, they picked up the pitching, was able to secure the win, and they moved on. They did a great job. And then even in game 3, it was a 3-2, pitching duel throughout the whole contest. Chicago was able to scrape off what they could. So not going to knock them too bad. And then in the series finale, 5 runs to cap off against the Astros. I know they got obliterated, but still at the same hand, you got to give the hitters the credit. 5 runs in majority of cases is enough to win you a baseball game. It should be enough to win you a baseball game. And the fact that it wasn't, and it wasn't even close, okay? When you get outscored over 4 times as much by the other team, you just know it's the pitching staff to blame, especially when it was the starting pitchers that had over 3 times given up what you scored throughout the whole game in less innings worked. So a terrible performance for the Chicago White Sox, and hopefully they're able to rebound in this upcoming series because they take on the first place Cleveland Guardians, and this is going to be the deciding factor in the AL Central, specifically for the Chicago White Sox, because if they drop all 3 games, guess what happens? They drop to 5.5 games back against the Cleveland Guardians. And I know what you're saying. There's a long time between the end of this series and the end of the season. But at the same hand, they just came off an obliteration against the Houston Astros, a team that knocked them out of the playoffs the previous season. Now they're coming in. They're going to get beat by a team that they bullied last season, a team that came out of nowhere and claimed the first place position in the division, and now they're 5.5 games back. They're going to be under 500 again, and where's the momentum? It is going in the opposite direction. This is a crucial series that they need to at least win. They need to get 2 out of 3 at the very least, because even if they only win 2, they're still going to be a game and a half back in the AL Central. So they really do need to pick it up in this series. This is going to be the defining moment for this team. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the White Sox looks going into the series? I don't think it looks all too good for them just based off of how they usually respond to adversity. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments section below. The Chicago White Sox take on the Cleveland Guardians tonight at 6:10 on NBC Sports Chicago. It is going to be Lance Lynn taking on Tristan McKenzie for the Cleveland Guardians. But we also have the Chicago Cubs, who have been the complete opposite of the Chicago White Sox as of late, winning 4 in a row, including a great win against the second place Milwaukee Brewers. They beat the Brewers 8-7 today in a complete slugfest through the first 6 innings. It was a great showing by Chicago. This is exactly what you wanted to see from a team that's been struggling throughout the whole year. A great hurrah to end the season, because I guess a lot of these guys figure they're not going to be coming back next year. This is their last time to play with this unit, and it's really showing. They are playing their best baseball now, just as the stuff's supposed to hit the fan. So credit to them for coming out here and being the group that we said they were all season long. They are gonna make you fight. They are a bruiser-beaten team. They are Rocky Balboa in the first one, where they are going out there. They are putting on a show. They are taking a beating. They are going the distance just to be able to say that they did everything they could to try to beat this team. And unlike so many other teams, this Chicago team has been able to beat some of the toughest opponents they've gone up against. And it's really just been this Chicago classic of choking away some easy wins against lower tier opponents that has really left the Cubs in such a bad spot this season. Now, I'm not saying they would be a playoff contender if they would have beaten those lower ranked teams, but they definitely would be a lot closer to 500 than 51-67. But in either case, the Cubs have done a tremendous job just being able to find a personality. I feel like despite recognizing the need to try to find some more pieces and try to get some younger talent. I still like the unit that they have. I like the guys on the team currently, and I understand none of them are Hall of Fame or even All-Star worthy, really to a true extent. I mean, there's a few guys that are good, but there's no guys that I really look at and say, oh yeah, that guy is all-star caliber, one of the best players in baseball. Wilson Contreras is great. Don't get me wrong. Seiya Suzuki has potential. Don't get me wrong. It's same for a number of guys on the team. But at the same hand, they're just not at that spot yet. And I think if you just give them another season, another year of progression, they would be a much more solid unit. This is a group of guys who you just see. They are fighters. They are really going out there every game trying to make the most of it. Justin Steele has been great this season, and honestly, so has Kyle Hendricks, despite having a rather off year compared to last year. But that's also just with this team not being as good as they were before. And I know I just said I like this unit. I like where they're at. They might not be a great unit, but at the same time, I think they deliver some form of hope for this team going forward. It seems like everyone that's on this team is fighting to stay on this team, and that's not something that you usually see. We see a number of guys going around doing everything in their power to leave their current franchise, and it seems like the Cubs players are doing everything they can to remain. I don't know, perhaps that's just them looking for a way to get closer to the next part of their career on a great team, but I like to think of it as them going out there doing the best that they can for the Cubs to remain on that team. But I don't know. What do you guys think of the Chicago Cubs looks this offseason? Do you think that they're going to be looking to make some changes? Is it going to be a completely different team as it is right now? Or are we going to see a number of guys return? I think it's obvious that a number of guys are going to be meeting the axe, but I do hope, I wish that they do stay, because I do think they would make an interesting team going forward. But make sure to show us the love down below. Follow us on our Instagram at the Winner Circle STC, and make sure to tune into the Winner Circle every Wednesday, 5 p.m. on SportsTownChicago.com, or you could follow along in the TuneIn app when you're fly fishing or perhaps riding your bike. Whatever you do when you're on the go, you could take us with you. But until next time, this has been TC with another episode of TC Talks. Peace.